Everybody, about to get this stuff figured out. I'm real sorry about the remind. I don't know what the heck happened with remind. I'm just hoping remind to come back up. And I bet it's my own special technical incompetence. I bet y'all are getting remind from other teachers. But at any rate, I'm going to post this. It is Wednesday at about noon here, and I'm going to post this stuff tomorrow morning. So we're looking at period 6. I kind of like this review process. Here's what I know about. I've read a little bit more about the test, but like I said, what today is April 1st. I don't know. I hadn't heard a lot of good April Fool's jokes. I think everybody's not quite in the mood for it or something. I hadn't really heard any April Fool's jokes. But what I have heard about the AP test is that it's 45 minutes long. It's 4 questions. It's open-ended. There's no multiple choice. I can't imagine there's any need for a thesis. And on Friday they're going to finalize like their plans for it. I won't get you don't have assignment on Friday, but I will go ahead and send out whatever it is they say about it, so you can be thinking about it. So this is my last official assignment before spring break. I won't make any assignments. I may send a few things out. They may get on to us and tell us absolutely, positively, do not send anything out. I'll go by whatever they say. All right, but I did look up the categories for this time. So they've changed the categories just a little bit. So the culture, American culture, and also regional culture. So the difference between the South and the North and the West, and rural culture and urban culture and so forth. Also, let's see, social structure. All right, so our acronym was AP Work and Make Grades Awful. All we got to do is add a S to it, so we'll say AP Work can make grades seriously awful, and we get social structure in there. And Gilded Age is a big time for that kind of hierarchical social structure, so we'll mention that as often as we can, and maybe even start there. All right, so hey, take a few minutes. We got 3 columns just like last time. This is period 6, the Gilded Age. Really kind of the first thing we did this semester. So write down everything you can about it down the left side of your paper till you get to the bottom. All right, pause it, do what you got to do. I'll wait about 10 seconds, then I'll see what I come up with. Seems to me like this one, I think, let's look at it this way. I think what am I doing here? Come on now. Let's go over here. Can I do that? All right. I'm almost going by chapter, I think. So let's see. I'm going economics. Then we'll go, let's go like the West, the cities. Is that the 3 things before you get to the progressive area? And the progressive, this doesn't. So we're kind of looking at that, all right? Okay, so let's go right here. So we'll start with the economics of things. And so you remember the very first thing, we got like migration, transcontinental railroad. All right, remember that? All right, the Irish and the Germans. Okay, and then right away, and what, it's the Central Pacific and the Central Union Pacific. All right. So then you got your industrialists, right? So So let's just put industrialists. All right, and then we'll start with, and what do we want to say? What they got in common? They're kind of ruthless, and they're going trusts and monopolies. Okay, and you really, it's like politically, it's laissez-faire. The government's going to leave them alone. Here's your other thing. Politics, and that one was actually, I believe we covered that last semester. So let's scoot it up. before we get to Transcontinental Railroad. So let's go, what? Spoil system. And what are you going to have? Boss Tweed. So remember Boss Tweed? All right. And what? He's got his Tammany Hall political machine. And he's getting jobs for the immigrants, the new immigrants, as well as the Irish that are still coming. And he gets some jobs and turkeys and Christmas presents, gets their kids out of jail in response for, the corruption, in exchange for, they stuff the ballot box on election day. Corruption. All right, so like Boss Tweed was the poster boy for that. He ended up getting in trouble. Remember, it's the political cartoons. Thomas Nast and Tilden got him. And he ended up going to jail. He had the Moneybags heads. And so, and all the politicians are kind of controlled by him because he's making big donations to their campaigns. And his guys get voted for, and they give him kickbacks for all the construction contracts in town. And then we really get our favorite growth story of the year, and that's going to be Garfield gets killed by Guiteau and Arthur. So Guiteau wanted the job. He wanted to be Minister to France on something like that. Charles Guiteau, remember, he was the reject from the Oneida community. And Alexander Graham Bell tried to save Garfield, but Dr. Bliss, kept feeling around for the bullet hole. All right. Well, somebody's cutting the grass on this side of the house, so I'm gonna go on the front, or maybe I'll go out in the garage. They got something to turn the lawnmower on. You can't hear anything. Let's go out the front. I'll go right here. Okay. So how's that? All right. So we'll keep going here. All right. So let's get down to business. The chapter about economics, it all really comes down to that, right? These are all the problems that the progressives are going to want to solve. And so if we go down here, let's list them, the big four. All right. And I don't know, I feel like I'm getting, maybe I don't want to run out of room before, come on now. Why am I so stupid? There. I want to run over, so let's list them. All right, so it's Vanderbilt, Rockefeller, Carnegie, Morgan. All right, and so Vanderbilt was the railroad guy, right? All right, and I don't know, maybe we'll put something for Vanderbilt. What do you want to put? Grand Central Station. All right, he had the New York Central Railroad. He had been the shipper, the steamboat man. He'd run like riverboats prior to the Civil War. All right, so he made his fortune in shipping, and the next fortune in shipping was in railroads. So he's the first guy to really realize that. So he's kind of got the monopoly in the New York area. And New York, going back to the age of Jackson, was already the trade center, Erie Canal and all that. All right, if we want to go Rockefeller, we're going Standard Oil, right? And he's got the Standard Oil. Remember, it doesn't blow up, and oil is originally used for like kerosene. Kerosene oil is for lighting and cooking, but it was dangerous, so when you light the match, you might blow up your house rather than light up your house. So he's got the Standard. But then he can come into town, and the economics of how it works. He runs out of Tarbell's dad out of business, and he can undercharge the railroads in town, and they either he undercharged the oil companies in a particular town, and they can either set his prices, in which case it's a trust, or he's going to run them out of business, in which case it's a monopoly. All right, and he was what he believed in. Let's go social Darwinism. And hey, survival of the fittest. Darwin didn't believe in that, but Herbert Spencer did. Now, he gave away a lot of money. He's the big philanthropist also. Gave away richest man in the history of the world, I think, and gave away $500 million. I wonder if I hit delete. No, it's not going to bring Adam Norris back up. And hey, we'll go along with that, the gospel of wealth. Remember that? All right, and that's Carnegie. All right, so Carnegie, he's got Carnegie Steel. Then you get technology, right? So that's the Bessemer process. You're blowing cold air on hot iron. You're producing steel quickly, cheaply. All right, and so, and the steel's going to build the railroads. The steel's going to build the cities. All right, and then he's going to sell Carnegie Steel to the banker J.P. Morgan, and so it's going to become U.S. Steel. All right, so then you kind of got the working conditions, the union struggle, and what, you got the National Labor Union, the Knights of Labor, both of whom let in, they let in the unskilled labor too, and that's easy to replace. That's the scabs, and so the AFL is going to be the only one that's very successful because it only lets in skilled worker. And remember, the industrialists, the big business, they got like the police on their side. If it's a railroad strike, they can call in the army. They got the Pinkerton detectives. They got the newspapers saying nasty things about the strikers. So the social structure, everything's on the side of the big business, and so the common man really doesn't have much of a chance. All right, we got 4 strikes, right? And remember, it was like a hamburger. So it was a railroad was the bun. So you had the railroad strike of 1877, and Hayes called out the troops to crack the heads and beat them up. And then you had the Pullman strike. Eugene Debs was the leader of the Pullman strike. Let's get Debs in there. All right. I wonder if I can. Here, I'll just capitalize him. D-E-B-B-S. Eugene Debs. All right, and there you go. All right. What? I'm recording.
You can hear you. I got to zoom in.
Okay, I got to move yet again. I've been moved for the 3rd time. All right. Okay, so that's Eugene Debs. All right. What?
Living room?
No, Luke's sitting in there.
He's moving up his room.
Okay. All right, I'm moving now for the 4th time. Eugene Debs. That's what I said. Eugene Debs is a powerful man. He just moved everybody in the whole dang house from beyond the grave. You better look out for Eugene Debs. You don't want none of him. You get you a little bit of Eugene Debs. Bald is beautiful, baby. Loud and bald is where it's at. Okay. So then, all right. So those were the 2 railroad strikes, and then the 2 H strikes. Haymarket was in Chicago. Remember, they were making like farm parts, or McCormick harvester plant. And in both the H ones, Haymarket and Homestead, the anarchists screwed things up. So the anarchists threw out a bomb at a funeral and kills policemen, and so the strikers are seen as too radical. And then the strikers doing pretty good at Homestead. That was the steel strike. Where Carnegie doesn't want to look bad, so he leaves freaking charge. And what happens? The anarchist comes and shoots and stabs Frick in the neck, but Frick whooped his tail. So frickin' Debs really kind of they're rough. I don't like that S word. All right, but they're pretty tough. Okay, so there's the kind. I'm being chased all over Calhoun, Georgia. I'm being pursued. No one will let me do my video. All right, I'm now going out to the garage. You know, I've got lawnmowers. I got Miss McKenzie. All right, I'm going to hang out here in the garage. I'm going to close the garage so we can't possibly hear. All right. Haters. Hater, pumpkin eater. All right, here we go. Let's do it again. Let's keep going. Ain't nothing going to keep us back. We ain't holding us back. Not no dang COVID-19 and not a bunch of folks saying that the teacher's too loud. All right. That was the Homestead strike. Okay. And so that's kind of anything else we need to say about, here, let's throw one more in there on the philosophies. All right, remember it was the social gospel. It's kind of Martin Luther King's, William Jennings Bryan. Is capitalized. Let's uncapitalize that thing. All right, so it looks like social Darwinism was the opposite. Remember, Christians are supposed to help people. It's the YMCA and the Salvation Army. All right, so Martin Luther King and Brian the Lion, William Jennings Bryan, going to be social gospel Christians. All right, okay, so there's that. So then let's go, and we're moving to, where you want to go? Let's go ahead and go to the cities. We'll go to the west last, I believe. What do you think? All right, so the cities, you know, the urbanization, you know, you're going to have the new immigrants. All right, you know, you got the jobs and like the pull factors, bright lights, big cities. What do you want to put? Conveniences, electricity. All right, and I didn't spell that very well. Let's see. So what? The tenements. All right, so the new immigrants, you got the Statue of tenements. All right, Statue of Liberty. Give me your tide, your poor, your huddled bright masses, yearning breathe free, the wretched refuge of your teeming shore, send these, the homeless tempest tossed to me, lift my lamp beside the golden door. A new Colossus, Emma Lazarus said. And then what? What, I don't know, you got the nativism, the American Protective Association. Do we have new immigrants on there somewhere? All right, new immigrants. J-Grips, Jews, Greeks, Russians, Italians, Poles, Slavs. All right, some of them are radicals. Let's see. Anything else about the city? Skyscrapers, elevated trains, bridges. All right, built with the steel. All right, and I don't know, ghettos, you know, the neighborhoods they lived in. All right, let's make, okay, so that's urbanization. It's kind of the overview of the urbanization. All right, and then, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go through and then I'm going to kind of see, all right, I'm going to go down and I'm going to see how many I got into what category. All right, because it's a good idea. Ooh, and that's you know what I'm going to do next time? I'm going to divide it up into headings of categories and run through it that way, because that's a nice way to do it rather than just, you know, spitting out facts. Okay, let's see. So now we got the West. All right, so the West are going to be Cowboys and Indians. Let's start with Cowboys. Great state of Texas, baby. All right, Longhorns, the long drive. They're going from Texas to Kansas. All right, I cannot see. Let's see, horns, log horns. All right, got the long road. Texas, Kansas, the last 20 years. Remember, it ended because the barbed wire fences and the overgrazing and the two bad winters. The Longhorns were the toughest kind of cattle, and the cattle towns, Dodge City, Kansas, most famous of them was the Wild Wild West. I had a rather lively discussion with Mr. Fightmaster about whether the crime rate was higher in the Wild West, in the West, than it was in the cities. But if you go back to urbanization, remember what? Police was created. Folks get crowded together in tenement homes. Crime's going to go up. Hey, you had dead horses laying around. You didn't have any sewage system. So the overcrowding, led to the sanitary problems in the cities. All right, Cowboy. All right, let's see. So let's get rid of Cowboy. All right, and so then we'll go to, okay, the Indians. So the Plains Indians is the big part of this. All right, I'm going to go Plains Indians, and then I'm going to go Turner Thesis. These are the big ones. I'm doing a better job of kind of getting the big ones. It feels like a lot of details when I was doing the economics. All right, and the Populace. Remember them? The Populace, William Jennings Bryan. Okay. So let's back it up and take a look at Plains Indians. All right, you got the Sioux Indians up there in the Dakotas. They're killing General Custer. Custer's last stand. Battle of Little Bighorn, remember, it was 1876. So, that's just flat out power. Nobody had gone out there. Nobody, the Plains Indians just kind of left to themselves for the longest. And the frontier was in the middle of the country. Remember, because you'd had the gold rush out in 1849. So people lived in California, but they didn't live in Kansas. Didn't live in Nebraska. Texas, let's get the Comanche in there. The Comanche had this huge empire. Lords of the Plains, they were called. And what? I read that book about them over Christmas. It's called Empire of the Summer Moon, something. So, everybody freak out if there's a full moon, because that meant the Comanches were riding, and the Comanches were going to do awful things. They're going to kill people slow, do awful things to the women. And so for the longest time, nobody would mess with the Comanche. And so back to General Custer, they found gold. Gold is found in the Black Hills of the Dakotas, and remember the Sioux out there, and another name for the Sioux are the Dakotas. So Custer's coming out there, he thinks he's got him, but, they come, the Sitting Bull has the vision of soldiers falling out of the sky, and Crazy Horse is the guy that does the killing there. All right, and so then, the full force of the army comes out after the Plains Indians, and so you're going to have the massacres of Sand Creek right after the Civil War, and then Wounded Knee in 1890. And what the Indians were doing the Wavoka, they were doing the ghost dance, and they've got the ghost shirt, and they think they'll be immune to the bullets, and then, they're told to give up their guns, and a shot rings out, and everybody gets killed. And that's the end of the Indian resistance. All right, and so then you got what? The Carlisle Indian School. All right, save the man, kill the Indian, save the man. And Jim Thorpe, the great athlete, maybe the greatest athlete there ever was, who he played football for the Carlisle Indian School, and they gave him English names, and we watched a pretty good film about that. And they had to dress, they gave him American names and American clothes, and they cut their hair, taught them to be good Christians, and try to assimilate them. That's the whole idea. All right, the book, The Century of Dishonor, was written about it. Okay, all right. So then the Turner Thesis says once we've taken over. Let's go with it. Now, why are people coming out there? It was too dry. We got the Homestead Act. All right, so the government's giving away free land, and hey, for those Indians, you're going to have the Dawes Act that gives them free land if they live in nuclear families and not in tribes. All right, and so the Homestead Act gives away that land. The folks going out there, the African Americans going out there, were called exodusters. And it was rough out there. It was dry in Kansas. God we trusted, in Kansas we busted. And they came up with agricultural techniques, and they came up with irrigation projects, and they turned over the soil year after year after year. That's why the Dust Bowl is going to come along during the Depression. And so when people move out there, that means there's no more frontier. And so Frederick Jackson Turner's got that Turner Thesis. maybe the most important thing in that. I think Turner thesis is probably the most important thing in that Western unit, that we live somewhere that there's no frontier left. So that means you don't have the safety valve anymore. So let's go with that, the safety valve. The man at the bottom of the social structure, the common man, can't start over anymore. Safety valve. All right, because there's no place left to go, and so we're never going to be as independent anymore. We're never going to be rugged individualists. All right, so you're going to have the government that's going to kind of serve the role that the frontier played again. If you can't make it, during the Great Depression, you've got the CCC to help you out, or Social Security to give you, help you out when you get old. All right, then you got the Great Society in the 60s, and, the Obama bailout from the banking crisis. And, hey, Trump is spending, for all his tough talk, he's spending $2 trillion, 2.5 times as much as Obama did in the bailout. So we become a nation where the government, laissez-faire is kind of gone, and the government kind of looks out for people. And so Turner says that makes us less American. That's not, the frontier is so much a part of our identity. And so when we lose the frontier, we lose our tough guy, identity to an extent. Now, the question of the frontier thesis was, but when people moved to the West, they moved to the cities, and the government gave them land, and the government built railroads for them to get out there, and the government did big irrigation projects, is eventually going to build the Hoover Dam out there in the West, and that the West is actually the most urban area in the country. The highest percentage of people live in cities in the West than any other part of the country. And in fact, when people don't make it, they don't move to the frontier, they move to the cities. All right, so that's kind of the frontier thesis is probably not literally true, but it's partially true in that it kind of explains American identity. How, the common man is the American ideal, and the common man always has a chance in America without the government, without needing any help from the government. And so, all right. There one more. So I had the populace, right? Let's see. Can I go back to the populace? Do I have populace anywhere? I do not. Let's get rid of Dawes Act. You want to? All right. So then there's the populace. So let's see if we can remember. It spelled Sir Drip, all the problems that the farmers had. No. That was their solution. So let's see if I can name 4 or 5 problems. Well, the weather. Droughts, floods, the boll weevil. And then economics. One crop economies, the world market. All right. And then they overproduce. And there's deflation because of the gold standard. And so the government just always kind of seems to be on the side of the business, the urban elite, and not the Western farmer. And it feels like a rerun, right? It feels like a rerun of what? The Bacon Rebellion, Shays Rebellion, the Whiskey Rebellion, where the Western farmer's getting screwed by the Eastern elite. All right, so then they come up with their proposal, Sir Drip. All right, so Sir's the economics. They want to coin free silver. That's going to be William Jennings Bryan's big proposal. And then they want an income tax. It's going to be 17th Amendment, and that you're going to see that a lot. You see it with Wilson, but big time in the New Deal and the Great Society. All right, they want the government to take over the railroads. All right, government never did that, but took over like the postal system, and because the shipping rates weren't fair. That was, and to be railroaded meant to be economically screwed. All right, and then what they want politically. In order, they needed power, kind of like the Black Power movement in the 60s. Stokely Carmichael says, hey, you can talk about sitting at a lunchtime all you want, but we really need power. So here, the populace are saying, if we're going to be effective, we need political power. All right, so they want a direct election of senators. Hey, the progressives got it. The progressives are kind of going to do everything that the populists want to do. The populists kind of working, looking backward for American identity, the good old days, and the progressives are looking forward, really optimistic. All right, let's see, the referendum and the initiative. So that's power to the people kind of stuff. The people voting on things that they've proposed, or else people voting on things that the leaders have proposed. A one-term presidency, immigration restrictions. Rural folks don't kind of like, they never really like the challenge to their lifestyle and their culture, their regional culture, if we say regional culture, that newcomers play. All right, and then coin and free silver, and that's going to be Bryan. And so Bryan makes that cross of gold speech at the election of 1896, and the Democrats take this populist, the populists and the Democrats team up to support this Robin Hood guy. But he fails. He got beat by McKinley, even though he was a great speech maker and campaigned a lot harder than McKinley did. Because he couldn't win over the urban worker. The unions voted McKinley because, the workers were worried about losing their jobs. And he was also so very Protestant and religious, like Northern Catholic farmers, he kind of put them off just a little bit. I remember the political cartoon was kind of anti-Bryan. Bryan the Lion. And so Wizard of Oz was about that. And so it's Bryan the Lion, McKinley's the wizard, the worker is the Tin Man who doesn't have a heart, the farmer is the lion, doesn't have a brain, doesn't understand all these economic, political forces that are at play, and the yellow brick road is go with the gold standard and not free silver. And so Dorothy was the voter, and she had silver slippers. All right. So what do you think? I'm going to say that is exactly, with the interruptions, I'm going to say that's exactly 20 minutes. And so then you're going to add, if I can, categories. Ooh, let's go ahead and play categories before I do that. All right, so let's put a category on everything. Okay, so the cities, that's going to be migration and settlement, right? Spoil system and Boss Tweed and the political machines and the corruption, that's all politics. Nast and Tilden bringing him down, that's still politics. Garfield and Arthur, so that's just a political chapter. All right, so Transcontinental Railroad, that's movement, migration, and settlement. The Irish and the Germans. Ooh, that's wrong. It's not the Irish and the Germans working on the railroads. It's the Irish and the Chinese working on the railroad. The Irish and the Germans were the old immigrants. Central Pacific, Union Pacific, that's politics and economics. The industrialists, are all economics. You also got the social structure. These guys are at the top. Social Darwinism, that's that social structure. The common man's at the bottom, so that hierarchical social structure. Let's see. So then you go down. So the unions is social structure and economics. Debs, he runs for president a bunch, so that's politics. Statue of Liberty, so like the cities is migration. And like regional culture, the culture of the immigrants very different from the culture of farmers and Southerners. All right, let's see. Statue of Liberty is very much about, so settlement is the tenements. Jane Addams is kind of the settlement and the tenements. And the social structure of Statue of Liberty is American identity, saying, hey, we're a new kind of powerful country. A little bit of America in the world. You don't get a lot of America in the world here. There's really not wars. But, our American identity in the world, we're a different kind of power. All right, so the radicals is economics, and they're upset with the social structure. The Cowboys and the Longhorns, that's kind of regional culture and the West, and it's economics. The Plains Indians, very much culture, so you're trying to assimilate them, and their cultures are so different. It's a warlike culture, and a movement, a migratory culture, rather than settling down in one place. And all those efforts to assimilate the Indians are cultural efforts. All right, and then you get down to like the farmers. Farmers' problems basically economic. And then that Turner thesis, that's big time identity. We're not the same once the frontier is gone. Right? It's to be an American today. Where we're basically being, we know to stay strong, we've got to stay home. That's like the NFL. That's the NFL kind of campaign hashtag. I think that's pretty good. All right, and so the populace is political and economic proposals. All right, well, with that, let's look at my time. I'm going to say that is 28 minutes. Let's see what it ends up being.